woke green policies are costing most people in Canada who vote Liberal far more than they can afford. And it's only a matter of time before they start chewing those smartening up pills.
So we are in a very precarious position in this country. We need political change, but we also need to resolve to resist. Welcome back to another Stand on Guard. This is the Krayden's Right channel. See our new logo up there? Yeah, moves around. Gives you the chance to see what we're doing. Happy to be back. We've got a lot of things to talk about today, but I'm going to be brief. It's been a very busy week following that Freedom Convoy trial. But you know, the thing we weren't talking a lot about was this Liberal caucus retreat in London, Ontario. But before I get to that, I want to talk about Trudeau's announcement on Thursday, which was one of the most ridiculous, most stupid, most mystifying, and perhaps most dangerous things that Trudeau has said. I wrote about this yesterday in the Post Millennium. I encourage you to read the article. It's about Trudeau's announcement on grocery stores. Now I'm going to go to a clip in a minute here, but it is inexplicable. I'm going to give you some idea of what he is perhaps talking about. Well, let's just allow Trudeau to talk for himself for a minute here.
That our biggest grocery stores are making record profits while Canadians are struggling to put food on the table. So Minister Champagne will be calling on the heads of large grocers to come to Ottawa with a plan to address the rising cost of food. And we expect to hear from them by Thanksgiving on what their plan is to stabilize prices. And let me be very clear. If their plan doesn't provide real relief for the middle class and people working hard to join it, then we will take further action, and we are not ruling anything out, including tax measures.
Okay, first of all, how in the hell does he make this assumption that the grocery stores are making record profits? This is bullshit. And Trudeau knows it's bullshit, and it's absolute nonsense. He comes up with this stuff, and he just puts it out there, hoping nobody will test him, challenge him, suggest he's lying. Not making record profits. This is garbage. What the hell does he mean he's going to institute tax measures so that food prices stabilize? This is just so ridiculous. I don't know where to start. Because first of all, if he's talking about taxing grocery stores so that grocery prices will magically drop, does that make sense to anybody? You add another tax and prices are going to go down somehow. No, it doesn't make any sense. It is just so hypocritical because there is a tax related to the increase in the price of food. It's called the carbon tax. We are paying about 60 cents a liter in tax, carbon tax, every time you fill your gas tank up. That's what's pushing up the price of food. It costs more to transport food. Everything costs more because of the carbon tax. So Trudeau wants another tax to alleviate the high price of food. He didn't explain what he meant. I don't know if he has a clue in his shallow head what he's talking about. Clearly, while he was saying this, you could see the Deputy Prime Minister / Finance Minister, Chrystia Freeland, fidgeting nervously, looking really worried, because I think she understands there's nothing to this, but perhaps there could be something really, really dangerous to this. Is he talking about price controls? Is he going to arbitrarily rule what the price of a loaf of bread is? How much 12 eggs cost? What a pound of steak costs? Is he going to make that kind of ruling? Is the federal government going to get that intimately involved in the economy? Well, bloody well, that's called communism. And that's in a greater degree, that's what the Soviet dictator Joseph Stalin did in controlling the agriculture world. He created an artificial famine. You can do the same thing by artificially adjusting the price of food so that it becomes unattainable, so that it no longer becomes profitable to grow. It starts at that level. The producers cannot afford to grow it, first of all, because of the carbon tax. Second of all, because Trudeau has priced fertilizer out of reach with tariffs and has told farmers not to use fertilizer because it contributes to greenhouse gas emissions. So he'd rather people starve than farmers use fertilizer. All this is working against the producer. So if the producer can't make the food at the right price, the grocery stores cannot buy that food at a lower price either. So they are going to be losing money in the process. And if they can't pass that on to the consumer, they'll stop buying food. They'll buy less food. The farmers will producing less food. The result is famine. The result is starvation. That is where Trudeau's program is leading us. It's common sense economics. Anybody in first year university or grade 12 could figure this out, but not Trudeau. No, he thinks a tax is going to solve the problem. More taxes always solves the problem as far as Justin Trudeau is concerned. This man is not thinking as usual. He's so moronic in his approach to politics. He just takes a swipe, throws something against the wall, and hopes some of it is going to stick. This is one of his craziest ideas yet. Not going to work. And as I said, it smacks of sheer communism. This is absolutely ridiculous. I wrote about this, as I said, in the Post-Millennial. I encourage you to read the whole column because it's interesting because his father, Pierre Trudeau, instituted wage and price controls in 1975. It was called the Anti-Inflation Act. It was a disaster. It didn't work. It had to be revoked. And the funny thing is, his father ran against Conservative leader Robert Stanfield in 1974. Stanfield, a hapless red Tory, said he was going to introduce wage and price controls. Trudeau said, not going to happen under my leadership. One of the first things he did when he became prime minister with a majority government is to say that he was going to do wage and price controls. Massive flip-flop. Massive flip-flop. Interestingly enough, too, for the previous 2 years, from 72 to 74, Trudeau had been propped up by the NDP, much like Justin Trudeau is being propped up by the NDP right now. In those days, it was NDP leader David Lewis propping up Pierre Trudeau. Today, it's Jagmeet Singh propping up Justin Trudeau. So the historical parallels are fascinating 50 years later. 49 to be precise, but about 50 years later. Now, what does all of this mean? Well, it's interesting because even the mainstream media is starting to talk about this.
It's housing that works for Pierre Poilievre, Andrew, but it's also affordability, and the government also tried to deal with some of that today with the calling in the grocery chains to yell at them and put down prices and all that kind of thing. What did you make of the timing?
All right. So even the CBC, the state media, always sucking up to Justin Trudeau, is admitting, there might be a little bit of a problem here. And perhaps this isn't the plan. And the talking heads you saw actually said, yes, Trudeau might be going out on a limb here. He might not really have a plan. And affordable housing does seem to be an issue for the Conservatives. Now, if you've seen anything on social media or on YouTube from people who are suggesting Justin Trudeau is finished, it's all over, it's nonsense. They don't know what they're talking about because they haven't got a clue. Justin Trudeau has 2 more years to go in his mandate, and he will cling to power tenaciously for as long as he can. And just because a couple of backbench MPs are speaking off the record about how dissatisfied they are with Justin Trudeau does not mean Justin Trudeau is in any serious trouble. He will fight to stay in power. So don't think he's going to be leaving anytime soon. And anybody who tells you that does not understand the political world and does not know what they are talking about. I'll make that very clear. But I'll tell you what is happening. Justin Trudeau is introducing another flawed plan. What is it, you ask? Well, he's going to give developers a GST holiday. No GST for developers building apartment houses. Okay. So that's got nothing to do with single family homes, nothing to do with duplexes, nothing to do with people where people can actually buy. This is about people renting at exorbitant costs. And how is this going to help renters? Because the developers are going to be getting the rebate. Do you think they're going to be passing on the savings to whom? Somehow the tenants are going to benefit from this along the way? This is such an unstable, crazy, doesn't add up plan, but it's what we have come to expect from Justin Trudeau. It's absolute nonsense again. And yeah, I'm sure he heard some sour voices at the Liberal retreat, at the caucus retreat in London. Yeah, I'd be surprised if he didn't. He is such a clown. His government is so screwed up. What he's doing is so catastrophic that they'd have to be crazy not to suggest we have to do something. We have 2 years to recover until the next election. Are we going to start sometime soon? I'm sure there's some objection to this. But you know, Trudeau just got back from a trip to India where he once again made a fool of himself on the international stage. He screwed up trade deals. He alienated the Indian Prime Minister. He looked, and the Indian Prime Minister symbolically pointed to the door in one of these pictures. And he couldn't even get back on the government aircraft because it broke down. And it's symbolic of this government and symbolic of Justin Trudeau, isn't it? It just breaks down. It keeps breaking down. And that's what the Justin Trudeau government is all about. So is Justin Trudeau in trouble? Yes, he's always in trouble, but he's not in imminent trouble and any imminent pressure to resign. Not going to happen anytime soon. And he is going to continue to absolutely destroy the Canadian economy. And I won't even get into how he's destroying our free speech, how he's destroying our children, how he has created a society where the government will allow you to commit suicide if you're even depressed. I won't even get into those social issues. But economically, Canada is on the precipice of disaster. And if he thinks he can control the price of food with a wave of his magic wand, or if he thinks grocery stores are going to come up with his magic solution by Thanksgiving, he has nothing left in his cranium. There's a problem here, and the problem is Justin Trudeau. He remains a completely fatuous, vacuous leader without a single creative thought. He cannot cope with this crisis. He's the one that was saying, along with Chrystia Freeland, that inflation is no big deal in Canada. We're the lowest among the G8. And now it's suddenly a crisis, probably because he heard it was a crisis from some disgruntled MPs. And maybe he thought, well, yeah, I have to do something about this. Unfortunately, the something is not going to work.
While the rest of the world is taking advantage of the fact that we were playing international Boy Scouts and Girl Guides, the practical effect, additional 28 cents on the liter of gasoline and diesel. Now, because all commodities are priced in U.S. terms, imagine having that kind of a burden on everything you buy: food, transportation costs, lumber costs, cement costs, steel costs, asphalt for the road. All of these things mean that because we no longer have the petrodollar status we did, not only are you paying a carbon tax of 24 cents a liter in Prince Edward Island, Nova Scotia, and of course, let's not forget British Columbia, you now have to pay an additional, let's call it for what it is, an additional 28 cents to 30 cents a liter, depending on the HST or GST that you're using, because the Canadian dollar no longer behaves the way it did, because we're not selling oil and gas to the extent that we could or should. Bottom line, woke green policies are costing most people in Canada who vote Liberal far more than they can afford. It's only a matter of time before they start chewing those smartening up pills.
Keep on watching. I'll be back on Monday as the Tamara Leach, Chris Barber trial resumes. I'll be keeping an eye on Justin Trudeau. And having worked on the Hill for years, having been a journalist for years, knowing how Ottawa works and how prime ministers escape the punishment they deserve, I will not be telling you that Justin Trudeau is going to be resigning tomorrow or next week when it ain't going to happen. I will keep you up to date on how the facts are unfolding, not how we wish they would unfold. And I, like most of you viewers, really would like to see Justin Trudeau resign. I'd like to see an election next week or next month, but it's probably not going to happen because reality dictates otherwise. And the reality tells us we have to continue to resolve to resist this maniacal, despotic, authoritarian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, because he's still very much in control of his party and of his government, and he's still very much capable of bringing further catastrophe and devastation upon Canada. And he's got plans for the fall that is going to take your free speech away. So stay tuned, and stay tuned not only to the station, but to what Trudeau is up to, because it's bad. Bye for now. We'll see you on Monday. Hi, this is David Krayden from Krayden's Right and Stand on Guard. Join the resistance. Resolve to resist. Become a member of this station. I've been practicing journalism in one form or another for over 30 years. I've worked in print, radio, and television for a lot of prestigious publications and media outlets. I was an Armed Forces Public Affairs officer. I worked in Parliament Hill. I know how Ottawa works, and I know how corrupt federal government can be. But you can play a part in opposing Justin Trudeau's government and Justin Trudeau's plans for Canada. You can become a part of the Krayden's Right resistance. Now, I urge you today, please support this station in any way you can. Ring that bell, subscribe, because that ensures you're at least going to continue to be able to watch these episodes. You'll beat the algorithm. But more importantly, I need your financial support. I hate to ask, but that's what I'm doing. I made a decision to pursue independent media because I believed it was the best possible route for me to take as a journalist and as a concerned citizen of Canada. So you can become a part of that. And at only $5, you can become a part of that on YouTube, on Substack, and with Buy Me a Coffee, a one-time donation. But I need your support. And from the bottom of my heart, I thank you. If you've already done that, if you're already supporting the station, thank you. But if you haven't, make that decision today.